What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 24 of the Halving Report. Thank you for joining me today. There's approximately 22 days left until the next Bitcoin halving. The price of BTC is about $7,200 US as of April 19th at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Since the inception of the podcast, many of you know that Nick Cruse has been providing us with his inside take on the development of the US elections, and more specifically the Bernie Sanders campaign. Nick has gone from a car salesman role to an overnight Twitter sensation, gathering over 16,000 followers in just a short period of time. He's gained the following of many high-ranking political voices and figures inside Bernie Sanders' close circle. He's become a strong progressive voice and a major centrist, neoliberal, democratic establishment critic. Welcome to the show, Nick. Thank you for doing this today. I'm glad to see you're looking out for some new equipment and going to continue to spread the knowledge utilizing your social media platform.
I'm in the very early production part of my podcast. Like you see, I've just been releasing small videos. I actually had plans on doing much more with my page, but obviously there's been a lot of changes that happened because of coronavirus and the shutdowns and all that. So I wanted to use my YouTube channel as a kind of an activism page as well, because I'm going to be working with Sunrise Movement and continuing to work on getting progressive movements passed. So I want to use it for that, but for now I'm just kind of using it as kind of as a way I can rant, because a lot of people ask me to do that. So it's kind of fun to do. I'll just shoot it when I get the chance. Right now I'll just shoot it with the tablet I have now, and once I will get some more equipment, maybe a little bit later, I can probably get into some serious production.
Yeah, man, I definitely encourage you to jump out onto more platforms and engage in more ways. I see your Twitter following seems to be growing steadily. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm at like 16,000 now, and I got some pretty big followers that was pretty impressive to me. I know I got Neil Turner following me now, which is pretty big. Max Blumenthal, Michael Brooks, and to me it's pretty crazy to see that my voice is growing like it has, because I'm just some guy who just kind of just rants and I angry tweet a lot. But I'm glad that my message and my policy, while I talk about, tend to reach a lot of people. Pretty crazy to see, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I think you make really good points, and you're obviously educated about a lot of topics, so it's good to have you out there. I want to ask you how you are. Are you back in Kansas?
Yeah, I'm back in Kansas City now. I helping out, and I was doing a lot of canvassing here before, a lot of stay-at-home orders to help out in our state when I got back to South Carolina. It kind of sucked because this whole coronavirus, it really hurt our campaign, because I actually had a lot of moves planned. I was planning on going to Ohio and Illinois. I was in contact with a lot of people on Twitter, and I got some housing there as well. And we were just getting started, man. We had a few more weeks to stay hitting the ground, and we could keep going with the rallies. Who knows how everything could have turned out? Because if you look at exit polling, a lot of the people that made their decision on who they're gonna vote for, they made it up in the last like week or so. Now imagine if we was able to have massive rallies and we have people that will go door to door. We might be able to get more of the vote out. Never know. It's a big blow. So that kind of ruined my plans as well. Because like I said, one thing I was doing on my Twitter page was I was telling the stories of people I was talking to in South Carolina. I was planning on using my YouTube page, kind of get footage talking to people in Ohio and Illinois and at rallies and that kind of stuff. But once again, I wasn't able to really do that because I had to stay at home because I don't have health insurance right now, so I had to be cautious. So it really derailed a lot of the plans. So we're just trying to figure out what's the next, what we got to support now. My main goal is kind of support like down ballot candidates. I really want Shahid Buttar to win, and Michaela White as well. She's going to get Steny Hoyer. There's a lot of good races to kind of invest in, even though Bernie lost. So that's kind of my main focus right now.
So how much would you say, if you were to give it a percentile, how much of a contribution was COVID-19 to the ending of Senator Sanders' campaign?
And it played a giant role, that's for sure, because the Democratic establishment is ruthless. Like, they was going to do anything to take the win, including getting people out to vote in the middle of a pandemic. And I think at the end of the day, Bernie didn't want, he could in his conscience tell people to continue to vote and continue to campaign in the middle of this pandemic. So I think that played a giant role. I think that's one reason why, there's a lot of good reasons why Joe Biden pulled ahead, but the inability to continue to campaign really hurt Bernie, because the media can prop up Joe Biden on their own. They was giving him millions of dollars of free media. So Joe Biden was winning states that he didn't even have to campaign in. And the only reason we was even remotely competitive was because we was able to campaign. So they took away Bernie's only weapon, and then the media was weaponized against him. So at that point, we stood no chance. Like, people, days before Super Tuesday, I know me, Beth, and a lot of my friends on Twitter, we were saying like, man, we got a bad feeling about this. because it was, you can tell that we didn't have any momentum going into that. And then when the establishment coalesced, the media blitz was all pro Biden, and after they won South Carolina, it was 100% pro Biden media coverage that pretty much erased all the work we done, just like that. Media coverage and Jim Clyburn just erased all the work that we did in South Carolina just by their powers. I think that's something that we had to take on the chin and learn how to adjust to that, because the media is our number one enemy. Bernie really had to go Trump style on them. For real. That's why. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, wasn't Joe Biden's kind of an MIA when this all started, when the pandemic really started to kick in? Like, people were criticizing him for not addressing the nation more often. And, you know, they made some, I think I read something about making excuses like setting up lighting and all this kind of thing, while Bernie was, you know, doing live streams every single day.
That's the big disadvantage that we had, because you had the media playing defense with Joe Biden, because you had us on Twitter who was begging and screaming for accountability for Joe Biden disappearing. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, they was ignoring the fact that Joe Biden was conceding leadership to Trump. And that's why Trump approval ratings went up during this crisis, because he had the appearance of being a leader. Even though Bernie Sanders was doing a lot of these fireside chats and he was doing all these amazing online stuff, my thing I was telling people, I was like, yo, this is great, but I don't know how much it's really helping, because you see that a lot of people are watching online, but Bernie is already crushing it with the youth vote. And the people that we need to win is the boomer crowd. And then if you look at CNN and MSNBC coverage, they're literally not covering Bernie's online activism and online fundraising for the coronavirus. So it's an attack on both sides, because not only are they not holding Joe Biden accountable, they was blacking out what Bernie was doing. So even though we put all that work in, it can be erased just by the media choosing not to cover it, or they want to defend Joe Biden. That's what they wanted to do. You saw that with the Tara Reid investigation. They waited until Bernie Sanders dropped out, and now that Bernie's not a threat to power, now they're more than happy to talk about it. So that's our number one threat right now, is media power right now. That's the only reason I decided to jump into media again, just because we need as many voices as possible, because that's literally, there's money in politics and then there's media collusion. Those are our two biggest enemies right now.
So all in all, would you say that the Sanders campaign ended prematurely, or do you agree with his decision to end his campaign when he did?
I didn't agree, but I understood. I'm not going to put back on him too much for that, just because if the results was closer, you can make the argument, but whether you want to say it's election fraud, or I think there was a massive election fraud, I think that the exit polls show that, but even then, the results were still one-sided. So even if he quit, him getting out at that point, I understood. I still highly disagree, because I think he should have took it all the way to the convention. We had the money, and I think you gotta give people the right to cast that vote. And I think you can continue to fight on policy behalf, continue to put Joe Biden left, demand him put a strong platform at the convention. But now Bernie is going all in with the establishment, even though they haven't given us any real concessions. We gotta watch and see. I'm not gonna be a reactionary. I think a lot of people were jumping the gun really fast, but based on the vote for the COVID stimulus package, that was a corporate handout, and then you see him endorsing Joe Biden. Like I said, I'm not gonna pile on him yet, but you see people that attack him, they got legit points, because those are not solid moves. I mean, you can justify them, and you don't have to attack him character wise. I still think Bernie's a great character based leader, but I think he's literally just making tactically the wrong move, and I think it's literally just that simple. We are not on the same page strategy wise. I don't think it's not an indication of his character. It's just we're not on the same page. So
yeah, I think he's trying to bend the establishment. I think he thinks he's making a virtuous play in that he is going to try to bend the establishment to, you know, what his campaign's about, and try to pull it a little bit more left, or in my view, center. I mean, in my view, the Democrats and the GOP are both far right parties and have just increasingly gotten so.
And at the end of the day, and you got to get stuff done. And my thing is, and I know a lot of people in our politics, they want to get everything done. And Bernie, he's still a tool of the machine. I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm just saying that he still has to he got to keep the wheel moving. And with Bernie, with the results being as it was, I think he immediately recognized, like, damn, I'm not gonna get a lot of shit done this election.
Right.
I wish he understood that there was a lot of election fraud, that there was a lot of media collusion, and he needed to fight the establishment a little bit more. But he realized immediately once he saw the results, like, fuck, man, I'm not gonna get a lot of stuff done, so I gotta get something. And you saw with Joe Biden conceding with the student loan debt, Joe Biden insultingly say the load of Medicare age of 60. Joe Biden, his point of view is he just got to throw out some fake. He's got to throw out some weak concessions, and I think Bernie can kind of save face at that point. Because we gotta remember, he's still senator. He still want to be if Joe Biden becomes president, he want to be able to reach across the aisle and get stuff done. So I think Bernie can make the argument that he put Joe Biden left. I don't think he went anywhere near the left enough. And then Bernie can like I said, this is what I disagree with him, but this is what I think his mindset is. And I don't think Bernie comes from a corrupt point of view. I just think he's wrong. I just don't agree with the strategy. I don't think it's reflect on his character. I just don't think he's on the right page. Kyle made a really good point where he said you should make a list of 10 executive orders and demand put that on his desk and tell him, give me at least 5 or fuck off, you're on your own. Because at that point you can turn it politically on him, because we're not asking for things that are unpopular. We asking for stuff that exit polls are very popular. So if we go to Joe Biden, we go to the Democratic Party, and we tell them that we must have Medicare for all, or we are not joining a coalition. Well, 60%, 70% in almost every state was supporting Medicare for all, so that's not an unreasonable demand to make. So I think that's what you should have done. At least say Medicare for all, Green New Deal, living wage, and that's me being very nice. That's very, very, very nice. So I think that's the minimum you could have asked for to do. So that's the disappointment for Bernie for not doing that. But I think a lot of people missing the mark when they saying he's selling out and that kind of stuff, because I don't think it's a sign of his character. I just think he's missing the mark on strategy. That's what I think it is.
So you think that his strategy should be taking it all the way down to the convention and fighting that way, or how would you have played it out differently?
Yeah, because like at this point, you gotta try to get as much wins for the progressive movement as possible, because just immediately conceding to Joe Biden, that's not gonna give us a win. We already seen the cabinet that Joe Biden is deciding to pick. You already seen that he's hardlining against Medicare for all. So just getting Trump out of the White House is not a win for progressives. Just trying to prevent as much damage as possible, not a win for progressive. If we're gonna lose this election, we gotta make policy demands from the Democratic Party, and not doing that at all is, I think that's a waste of your movement. And Bernie has done it a little bit. Like I said, Joe Biden did some. He doing some head fake. He said he'd help get better on student loan debt in public college, but that's not enough, because like I said, Medicare for all, climate change is really important. And I didn't even touch foreign policy. I still think you gotta go really anti-imperialist foreign policy, but I'm not even touching that, because like I said, my point is I'm not even being unreasonable with our policy demands, but you got to give them something. I think Medicare for all, with the exit polls, you gotta be smart politically. We won the exit polls on that.
But you're going against one of the most profitable industries in the country, are you not? Pharmaceutical industry made what, $150 billion last year or something like that.
That's a good point. I heard before what's the point of siding with people that don't take corporate money if they're gonna side with corporations anyway? Because the whole point is we wanted to fight against their influence. So if we to support Joe Biden, they gotta make a huge concession. Their concession has to be you gotta cut the corporate campaign out, which this is why I said I don't think Joe Biden will earn my vote in the first place, because I know how Democrats think, I know how liberals think, and they're not going to cut their money chain up to earn my vote. It's going to be the same process where they might be able to get enough suburban vote to get it. There might be enough Trump derangement syndrome to help Joe Biden win the election, but they're going to try to win this election without the left. And Bernie Sanders not fighting for policy concessions harder than he has is making it easier for him to do that. And that's my only point. But if Bernie Sanders, I think Bernie, once again, I did not attack on Bernie's character-wise, because I literally think Bernie legitimately think Trump is a giant threat, which I'm not saying he's not. So Bernie legitimately think he has to do anything he can to defeat Trump, which is a fair position. I don't want to voter shame that position. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm not voter shame, because Trump is bad. So I'm not gonna shame you. I'm not gonna shame you for trying to beat Trump. That's not my prerogative. I just don't think that's a good strategy, but I'm not going to shame you for doing it.
How much of Bernie's support do you think will cross over and support Donald Trump?
I don't think a lot will support Trump, because I think the only people that are going to support Trump were people that was going to vote Republican anyway, that Bernie Sanders went over. In my experience in my travels, I've seen it. I talked to a few people that was Republican that was going to vote for Bernie Sanders. So if you ask them a poll question, you ask them who you support in the Democratic nomination, they would say Bernie Sanders. They say, all right, so if Bernie Sanders doesn't win, who you vote for? Donald Trump. And those are people that show up on the poll, but if you talk to them, they're literally normal people. Like, people act like these are like horrible people. They're normal, everyday Americans. So I think it's going to be pretty consistent, just like last time, around 12-15%. But that's pretty much the same crossover you get all the time. Hillary numbers were like 20% in 2008. So it's going to be pretty much the similar crossover support that Bernie got from the Republicans. I do think you'll see a lot more progressive going green, especially if you have the rumor Elizabeth Warren vice presidency. I think you're going to see a lot of people go green. And that's what I hope. But I think you'll at least see a better number than we said in 16. In 2016, when I saw the green number, I was actually really disappointed because I voted for Joe Stein in 16, and I thought there was going to be a lot more Bernie people that going to vote for Joe Stein. So a lot of people, they saw the amount of people, Bernie people that voted for Hillary in 16, and their reaction is different than mine. My reaction was like, man, that number is low. And everyone else saw that number, they was like, man, Bernie people didn't vote for Hillary. I was like, man, that number not as high as I thought. I think we got to at least get 5% this time. But I think Trump derangement syndrome they'll get. Right now, people don't really see it, but I think once the campaign get really started, once you really see the Trump versus Joe Biden tag, you have a lot of people like me who won't vote for Joe Biden, but I think there's going to be a lot of the army, people who don't really pay attention to politics. I think they're going to just rally against Trump. Right now, I'm 50-50 on it, but it really depends on how the campaign goes. But I think Trump derangement syndrome plus the coronavirus is going to make this different than what I originally thought like a few weeks ago.
Is there a viable path to presidency that independent from the Republican or the Democratic Party?
I don't think he was contract. I don't think he's able to do that based on the DNC contract that he signed. But I don't think there's, even if you went to the Green Party, if you've seen how much the Democrats rigged and stole this election using technicalities and all that through rules, they will make it almost impossible for a Green Party candidate to win on the election, especially with the Electoral College. The reason why I think people should go Green Party is because I think you need electoral power. We shouldn't just rely on electoral politics. I think we got to do a lot of worker strike. We got to find ways to put pressure on politicians outside of electoral politics now. But if we're going to have any electoral power, we got to consolidate around the Green Party. I like the idea of changing the name because the Green Party has a kind of a losing history. So make it like a populist workers' party, something like that. Make it a very strong platform that appeals to obviously progressives and union like right wingers. Because I talk to people in like South Carolina, I talk to people in Kansas, and if you have a strong progressive populist economic policy, you can appeal to them. You gotta be savvy, but you can do it. So we have that kind of platform. We can get 5 and 15%. We can start to change. We can start to change the two-party duopoly. Because I tell people, do not think about politics in 4 years. I study history, so you gotta look at politics in like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years space and try to see how you can change society in over a long term. And I think we took such an L this election. We gotta look at like 10, 15 years now, because I was looking at 4 years because I was like, all right, let's get Bernie in. We gotta split the Congress, split the Senate a little bit more, and then we can get Bernie agenda at 2022. So I had like a 4-year plan. But now that Bernie lost, like, man, we gotta look at 10, 15 years now. Like that's really the bad reality we're in right now.
Is there anything the DNC and the Joe Biden campaign can bend to progressives like yourself in any way that would win you over? Is there any one issue, like if they were to jump on Medicare, would that be what it takes to get your vote?
Problem is the legacy of history of the establishment that Joe Biden shrouded himself. And if you look at his donor class, it's the fact that he has 70 billionaire donors, and you see that Michael Bloomberg is going to play a big part in his campaigning and his policy platform. You'd have people like Amy Klobuchar, who's very strong, centrist, playing a role. Jamie Dimon. You just see a lot of high-level center of American progress. People like Neera Tanden. Stacey Abrams is another state VP pick. So you can kind of see what direction they're leaning towards. They're not giving Nina Turner a call, right? They're not giving Dr. Cornel West a call. Like you see what position they're going to. So I don't fall for rhetoric. I look at what I know people's history. I try to share people's history. And imagine if after Bernie Sanders dropped out, Joe Biden said, hey, Bernie Sanders is going to be either the vice president or someone very high ranking in our administration. And we're going to have Nina Turner, either vice president or someone high ranking in our administration. And let's bring a lot of these people over. Let's embrace them. Like, can you imagine that? Like, at that point, I would look like the asshole, right? People would be like, hey, 70% of the Bernie campaign is going over to Joe Biden. Why aren't you? But he's not doing that. He's doing literally he's teaming up with all the people who stomped on our neck, right? Even though, like I said, you got to ignore rhetoric and you got to see what direction people are taking their campaign. And I look in the direction that Joe Biden's taking his campaign, and I'm like, man, no matter what you say, you can earn my vote. You got to actually take action to earn my vote. So,
who do you think Biden's viable candidates for vice president are? Is Elizabeth Warren the front runner of that?
There's an early leaks right now. I don't know how credible they are, but I seen it on Twitter. They said they're going to pick Elizabeth Warren. The problem with The problem with picking Kamala Harris is it's a really good, feel-good neoliberal story. They want it to happen really bad. They really want Kamala Harris to be vice president. But at the end of the day, they are still smart. And they're looking at the demographics. The people that like Kamala Harris are going to vote for Joe Biden anyway. The people that they need to win, the people that they need to convince to vote for Joe Biden, they don't like Kamala Harris. like Kamala Harris was like third or fourth place in her state, which had to drop out. A lot of people, like the right wing, is strongly against Kamala Harris. Like Bernie Sanders was beating Kamala Harris like 2-1 with the black vote at one point in December before she dropped out. So even though they would love the idea of having Kamala as vice president, they still smart enough to realize, they're not the best idea. But they still kind of delusional about Warren's popularity. They still believe that she's popular among progressives, but I think they're going to be shocked because she's another polarizing figure as well. According to YouGov in the Economist poll, she was tied as the most disliked Democratic senator. She had a high, sure, her approval was decent with 50. It's not great by any stretch of imagination. That's decent, but with 40%, she's a polarizing figure. So I don't know how that's gonna work with them. Amy Klobuchar is another name that's flowed out. Okay, that's boring. And Kamala Harris, K-Hive, I think they will step Warren. But I don't think they will set Klobuchar. Klobuchar is pretty much because Kamala Harris and K-Hive is all about identity politics, and Amy Klobuchar is like Kamala Harris but white, and that will drive them crazy. So they don't really have a good vice president pick. I think Stacey Abrams is probably the best one just because she still has a mask that takes some work to. Because a lot of people still think she's decent when she's not, but she's probably the best pick they have just for the reason I gave before, because you at least can get the identity politic points with her. And the only good vice president position I think for Biden is a progressive.
Yeah, but who knows if you're gonna get that, right? I have no idea at this point.
I'm gonna tell you that right now, it's not gonna happen because you know they're gonna try to swap. They're either gonna swap Joe Biden or he's gonna last no longer than 3 months in this term. They already know that, so the vice president position is so important. That's why before I would have got mad if Bernie was Joe Biden's vice president. But now if Bernie was Joe Biden vice president, I'm like, oh, perfect. Joe Biden's not gonna be in the position long anyway, and they know that. So their vice president pick is actually very, very important for that reason, because they will know that their vice president is gonna be in a very strong position of power, and in 2024. They're going to be a Democratic establishment frontrunner because Joe Biden only going to be a one-term president. So that's why it's an important pick for them. But I think Stacey Abrams is the only one that cannot immediately set off flames, because it took me. I think a lot of people that follow me, they kind of know that Stacey Abrams sucks, because I've been talking about that for like over a year now, how bad she's been. So a lot of people kind of slowly accepted that. But you'd be surprised how many people still think that she's some sort of progressive firebrand just because she's just like Obama. She's a really good politician. Like if you hear her speak, she's good at pretending that she's something she's not, right? So she won't have immediate backlash. It'll be one of them things where people will slowly read into her, and then people go, "Oh, actually, she's not a good pick we thought she was." But it's not like immediate backlash, like if you pick like Warren or Kamala Harris or Amy Klobuchar, for example.
I want to ask you what you thought of the stimulus packages, and they're obviously doing a lot of money printing right now and a lot of stimulus package for people and for corporations as well. Wanted to get your thoughts on that impact and if that will have greater long-term consequences.
The long-term effects of this is going to be very important, not only just economically, but politically. One thing that really bothers me right now is the political ramifications of this stimulus package, because obviously the stimulus package is a giant corporate handout, and I'm not happy with that part of it at all. But because they gave the working class crumbs, I'm looking at the polls and I'm shocked, because I see the approval ratings of Trump and I see the approval ratings of the trust in officials are at all-time high. And this is something that they say all the time. And when there's a moment of crisis, you see a lot of people rally behind the leaders. And I'm like, no, man, let's not do that. Not right now, man. They're not doing the right thing. So I'm terrified, because you see this crisis is actually boosting people like Cuomo in New York, people who otherwise will be deeply unpopular, people who obviously don't give a fuck about the working class, but they can use this pandemic to give people crumbs. Like Nancy Pelosi one memes test everything. You have Trump outflanking them from the left on a lot of the relief package aid, but at the end of the day, their numbers are still sky high just because people see them on TV. It's easier for the media to do their tap dance. So that's why it's going to be really rough economically for the next few months. I want to see how that changed the political landscape. Because before, my prediction for the race was, I thought that Trump would beat Joe Biden 100% every single time. But because of this pandemic, the race changed. Like everything about politics changed. It's not a conventional race, so maybe, just maybe, they can hide Joe Biden enough just to make the public turn against Trump because of the way he handled the pandemic. Now, if there wasn't a pandemic, you would just have Joe Biden against Trump, and you would have Trump just crushing Biden on the campaign trail. But now it's different. Like, now that's why I say it's 50-50 now. It changed. So we're gonna see how the economic impact. Right now, Trump has got a boost just because people got that one-time $1,200 check. But what will Trump numbers look like in 2 months if Americans don't get any more relief? And right now they're talking about reopening America. And then what happens if more people get sick and then more people don't have any kind of relief money? You just see the numbers would turn really quick. So people that are just saying, I know people like, yo, Trump gonna guarantee beat Biden, but you don't know because a lot of things can change in 3 months. And Trump is pretty good at planning his narratives and that kind of stuff, but this is a real event that you can't really weasel your way out of. So it depends on how everything goes the next 3 months, on how the election, all that kind of stuff doesn't go.
How has COVID-19 impacted your area around you? Are most things closed? Are there big lineups? Have anyone you know been impacted by the disease itself?
Yeah, man, our family took it seriously. my mom, she's in the wreck right now, for real. She's really stressed out for good reason because we got a lot of older relatives and we keeping grandma locked up. We have people that work, and luckily I just got back, and I'm like, man, I'm just like, I had a lot of good plans, but I got to put everything on hold and keep myself quarantined. So I haven't really done much, and that really halted a lot of my plans. But everyone's been pretty much quarantined, locked down, and my brother will go work every once in a while, and my mom works from home. My sister works, but they pretty much don't deal with a lot of people. So we were lucky enough where, man, no one in our immediate family got it, but a lot of people in Kansas City and in my county got it. So we had to go on immediate lockdown. So I definitely seen the effects of it, and obviously I got a little bit of anxiety because I want to see. I got kind of worried about what I'm gonna do now because it's affected my plans a lot. So it definitely affected my personal life a lot. So we just got to see how everything plays out in the next few months. So luckily I got a little bit saved up to last me for another few weeks or another few months, but who knows how things are going to work out, right?
Yeah, you're definitely not alone in this, and hopefully, it's a good chance that the government has to make further concessions, right, for beyond the $1,200 stimulus check.
Yeah, that's why we got to continue to ask for more and not just have concessions.
Nick, I want to probe you a little bit about belief as healthcare as a human right. I tend to agree with you, but one of the questions asked by Eric Voorhees, he's a Bitcoin OG and he's a libertarian. He always asks, if healthcare is a right, how much healthcare is one entitled to? I just want to see what your response to that question would be.
We still got to be realistic based on the resources that we have, because the whole idea that we have in pushing for Medicare for all is that we just want to change the culture and the way that we allocate healthcare, because there always will be waiting time at the end of the day. But the difference between our country and like Swedish country or Norway and Denmark and all of them is they allocate their healthcare based on need instead of based on wealth. So based on the single care healthcare system, you have people living longer because people are able to get more preventive care, and then people who are older who really needs the help, they can get the help faster. But in our system, it's just all about whoever got the most money, which is convenient for like the top 5%, top 10%. But if you look at the numbers, it's not working for our working class. So I definitely sympathize with a lot of libertarian ideals, and I got a lot of libertarian leanings myself, actually. But you got, and this kind of thing, you got to look at what works, and just having the hands-off approach on healthcare and leaving us to a free market, that just drives up costs and just doesn't. And you're gonna look at objective stats that show that we spend more on healthcare, and I don't think that's the way forward.
I share a lot of the same feelings you have about the Senator Sanders campaign coming to an end, and I'm very upset. He's always going to be a hero to me. I trust that he thinks he knows what he's doing and doing the best that he can do. I know a lot of people out there are wanted to see him go out fighting. I trust Bernie, and he'll always be, like I said, he'll always be a hero to me.
That's how I feel. I mean, everyone's gonna make a mistake, especially in politics. Being Senator, man, things are really, it's a game of inches, man. So Bernie's not gonna be perfect on every single issue, but he started this movement and he motivated a lot of different Bernie Sanders, and even though he didn't win this race, I still think he should have a little bit of respect for that, in my opinion.
He's a little bit of a maverick. What do you think of Ron Paul?
I respect that he's anti-establishment mind. He's anti-establishment anti-establishment from the right. But there's some things like social issues I don't agree with from him. But he can be an ally to progressives on some issues, like in anti-war and ending the Fed and all that kind of stuff. So he's not the worst. He wouldn't be someone I actively attack because he's not anyone near the worst on the spectrum.
Do you have any last words or final comments as to what's happening in the world right now, or closing statements about the Sanders campaign?
One thing I would say is that we are kind of in like the healing stage right now. There's a lot of people that they're definitely hurt because there's a lot of people that invested a lot in this campaign. That's why you see a lot of people that kind of lashing out against Bernie. And I think once those people get some time, they may have a little bit more nuanced approach at it. But I definitely understand where they're coming from. We put a lot of work into this movement, and there's definitely no way to sugarcoat it. It definitely was a loss for our movement. But I think people should take the break, however long that should be, whether that be for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, and continue to let other people fight for someone they don't know. Because I can't necessarily imagine not fighting for something, like just giving up. So even if these things look shitty, I'll just be that guy who continue to fight on the background. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I think that's kind of the mindset a lot of people gonna have. But I think if you don't feel that way immediately, you shouldn't feel bad, because of course we need some time to mourn. It's a big deal. I mean, election had consequences, and this election we're gonna feel for a long time. Trust me on that.
I wanted to thank you for your time coming back on the show, Nick. As always, can you tell folks where to find you online?
Yeah, you can. I'm on Twitter. That's my biggest platform. Fly Tie MMA on Twitter. I'm also on YouTube, the Progressive Martial Arts on YouTube. Check me out on there. I'm always tweeting, and I appreciate all the people that continue to follow me. Like I said, I was just some guy that was yelling to the void just last year, and now I got a big crowd. So it's pretty wild to see that happen. So
has this influenced you in your way? Do you ever think about possibly getting into politics yourself?
Yeah, I actually have had a lot of people ask me that, and it wasn't something I really ever considered. But I'm actually really looking early into 2022 and just trying to see what office I can potentially run for. Just because my time in South Carolina, I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people said I had talent doing it. So I'm gonna try it. I mean, what else can I do? I quit my job, right? So I gotta find something else to do anyway. And it's something that appeals to me, and that's something that Bernie, you can give him a lot of credit for that too. If it wasn't for Bernie Sanders, I probably wouldn't want to do it anyway. He kind of motivated me to want to do it. I saw the blueprint and how it can be done, and I criticized Bernie because that kind of helped me know what I should know fix going forward. And if I mess up, the next generation can learn from me. But you never know. It's early possibility, and my following definitely will help. I got a lot of people that say it will help me out, so it's definitely something that's possible. And I kind of fired up and want to jump into the fight after this election.
Well, I definitely encourage you to do so. You have a strong voice in the progressive movement. Like you, I'm also influenced by Bernie Sanders. I think he's one of the hardest working politicians and most genuine politicians in America that I've seen. I hate to say it, but it's a pretty big cesspool in Washington. And Bernie Sanders he's one of the good ones, right? So I want to wish you a safe time during this pandemic, Nick. Again, thanks for coming on to the show.
All right, thank you, man.
And a big thank you to all of the listeners. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and definitely check out the show notes.